Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the part one of probably two parts of the basic build order guide for Soviets. The reason why I will be splitting this into two parts is for a couple of reasons. The main one being that the Soviets have two different build orders. The first one we're going to be doing is going to be 4 cons. The alternative one is to build 3 maxims and do a mortar. So I will be demonstrating the cons one in this guide, and then I will have a follow-up video which will demonstrate maxim spam. The other reason I'm suggesting 2 different builds is I really don't want to be responsible for encouraging a bunch of players to spam maxims, despite that being a very good and viable strategy, especially at the lower levels and for newer players. It will make your opponent suffer. And I would hate to be the one responsible for that. So this is pretty simple. You're going to build 4 conscripts. You can get your tier 2 out if you want, and then send out your combat engineers, or you can send out your combat engineers and build your tier 2 later. As long as you get it done around like the 8-minute mark, it's not that big of a deal. I just got it done because it's out of the way. Easy peasy. Gonna move our waypoint out towards the fuel, and our goal here is to guard the fuel, as it is with all maps. Actually, I need to get my munitions. I don't know what the bot is doing. Decided to go tier 1. Actually, you can cap that. Then you go for the VP. It's more important to spend your stronger combat squads, in this case conscripts, to fight for like the fuel, for example, because the fuel, especially early game, is a lot more important than munitions. Late game, you'll find that munitions is usually more important than fuel. And usually 4v4 players won't contest it as much, so it's not as important to take, so you can usually send your combat engineers. In this case, the bot has sent its storm pioneers, which can be very dangerous. So here we go, engaging the pioneers. This is looking to take the cutoff. I forgot to get more conscripts. And they're really pushing that munitions. So we need to send these cons to assist so they don't get the cutoff. Another thing we can do here is push our cons onto the point, so it's not that big of a deal. Move into this house. Those are storm pioneers. Wow, they are really chasing my conscripts. Okay. A thing to note about houses is that your DPS is limited by the number of windows facing in a direction. So sometimes you can actually reduce your DPS all the way down to 0, as a matter of fact, depending on the building, when you get into a house. The bright side about houses, though, is that no matter what, you get your cover bonus, the house garrison bonus. And that can be huge. Why do they get out on that side? Here we're going to look to take the munitions. The AI is getting their munitions, so that's good. Engaging at long range like here with cons isn't a good idea, but considering they are not dropping models somehow, it worked out. We got an engagement here because for some reason this is super chaotic. Now we're going to look to get our field HQ. While we're decapping or capping and we don't think there's enemies nearby, we want to build some sandbags. Conscripts really benefit from cover. Well, any squad benefits from cover. I'm going to wait for our H healing thing to go down.
Comrades, we have now installed a field hospital at headquarters.
And now in these situations, you're probably going to want to look to get either a second combat engineer, a MG, a mortar, or an AT gun, depending on the situation. If you're dealing with a lot of MG spam, you're probably going to want to get a mortar of your own. If you have all your positions, then building a maxim to defend it would be good. But if the enemy's going a lot of light vehicles, then you want to go light vehicle. Anyway, so we're capping here, and we're sending in our guys. We really need to get this because right now this fuel's cut off, meaning no one's getting it. So that's really bad for us. We're also going to tech conscript packages just so I have it done. It's not super important, but on this map with a lot of the urban environments, getting those Molotovs can be very good.
Conscripts can now attack tanks with
Oh.
AT grenades. Conscripts can now throw Molotovs.
Another reason we're getting it is so we can take out this annoying Kubel. AI is going to steal my gun. So we're going to leave our combat engineers to cap. So that way we can push up with our conscripts. You see, we're pushing in here.
The enemy is taking what we have secured.
Make sure we're getting cover here. It's very important. Standing on this VP is not super important, and they're not in cover, so pushing them is very good. We're gonna snare this, just so it can't follow us. You're gonna retreat these combat engineers. This is why sometimes you'd want to have 2 combat engineers. These squad, what I should have done is probably move them over here to the green cover, or onto these sandbags. It would have been far more effective. But it's fine. So you want to have these guys retreat once you get around 75 fuel. That way they can get your tier 3 up, and if you're struggling, you can get a light vehicle out. It's not as important if you're getting team weapons, but it's still potentially important. Volk's here. Okay, we have our 222. So we're getting to that point where we might want to get an AT gun. So we're going to get an AT gun. We can deal with this 222. Another way we can deal with this 222 is by snaring it. But you can't safely assume that, especially as you get to the higher tiers. Players will be a lot better with their vehicle micro. Another fun fact about conscripts is they can oorah, which makes them sprint, and makes it way easier to throw the grenade, and that's overkill. But I just wanted to demonstrate oorah for you. Retreat those guys, and we're going to push up with these guys. And we're going to want to take our munitions back.
AT gun is ready for combat.
So we could get a T6 or T70.
Enemy has taken our supply sector.
Which is really good against infantry, but it's quite micro-intensive, and it works all right against light vehicles. But for the sake of keeping our build simple here, we're going to skip it. But again, if you are desperately trying to deal with like a ton of MGs and stuff, it is another viable way to deal with MGs. Swam. Other than, say, the mortar. If you're not a fan of the mortar. Like, I'm not a fan of the mortar. Deciding to skip your light vehicle will allow you to get your medium tanks and heavy tanks out faster. So depending on the commander you're going, that's important. The Su-76 is pretty bad. There's almost no reason to ever go it, because in the next tier you get the Su-85, and because of how janky the Su-76 is, it's just not worth it. Another thing we can do here is we can group all our guys. Our AI is somehow losing this, which is fascinating. So I'll have to put on our carry boy pants. I didn't mean to bring that squad out. Okay, we're gonna move our AT gun over here. That did not work out. So he's in red cover, so we want to focus him like that. Yep. Okay, we're gonna go for the cutoff here. I'm going to help the AI assist in capping here, I guess. Okay, let's get our tier 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. Pushing up here. These are called control groups. If you box units or hit shift, you can select units and then hit control 1 to form a group. You can also click control and it'll select all the unit type flukes is going to be a problem. So, Conscript nades do 100 damage if they pen and 80 if they bounce. So 4 grenades are going to be what it's going to take out a light tank most of the time. And that goes for any faction or any factions. 18 nades. And now we're going to patiently wait. Okay, we need to prevent them from repairing because if they they're going to repair. That's going to cost us another nade. What? Let's see. If that hadn't repaired, we would have been fine. There is so many light vehicles. Alright, we're going to retreat. Oh, that Conscript squad almost died. Okay. And then we're going to save for a... depending on the situation, you either want a T-34 or a Su-85. We're gonna play it safe. We're going to get the Su-85 into a caddy. Though. The Su-85 is going to be good for AT. Your T-34 is multi-roll, and then your caddy is good at long-range barraging for infantry blobbing. So actually, if I was saying I was going to get an Su-85, I will probably get a T-34 and then get an Su-85. That way I just have some anti-infantry. But again, depending on your situation, it's far more likely that you're not going to be able to just go into it. Upgrading your conscripts to mobilize as reserves if you don't have it as commander-specific ability is very important. It allows your conscripts to have an extra man. It makes it cheaper to reinforce, and then while they're in cover, they are actually far more effective. So, as you can see, I'm upgrading the ability. It's currently 20 to reinforce. There we go. Another thing we're going to do is going to get a second AT gun since we're getting a T-34. And then we're probably going to look to get a maxim. But as you can see, they also get better vet for some odd reason. And veterancy is very good on conscripts. So this last squad will have to wait, which is fine. And we're going to really need to get this VP. And then we'll be able to use our maxim to cover it. Oh, that's why I wasn't get the maxim. Either or. Then I'll get the maxim. And then I'll get the Su-85. Again, it does also depend on how many AT guns you have and what kind of armor the enemy's fielding. I don't understand why the AI is struggling so much. Very strange. Squad. You only need one conscript squad to push cap that point, so we're not going to send everyone. We're just going to send the one squad. We're going to bring in our AT guns. As you see, once these guys get in cover, you'll see a little sword icon up here indicating they're getting their bonus. That's important. And look at them annihilate those Panzer Grenadiers. Okay. Now, you could bring up your 2 AT guns with the A move and then Ura Snare, but we're saving our money for that. So we're going to look to push onto mid. I click to make sure. I'm going to look to take mid. We're going to get a maxim, and then we're probably going to want to look to get a second combat engineer. It's far more important to get a second combat engineer if you're getting something like a T-34, because it's going to take a lot more damage, because your Su-76 you're going to leave in the back and play very defensive with. I'm going to switch to vehicle prio as we dive this Puma. We're going to check to make sure there's no snares from any infantry. So that's usually main lines is what you're looking for. So for example, this can snare me because I'm wounded. So we're going to want to try to path away from that squad if we can. We're going to use the reverse command. So that's U and then left click. And we need to get out of here. And as you can see, this is why T-34s are very risky. And then we're going to get a second combat engineer. This guy's got annihilated. We're capping mid, so that's good. An interesting fact about Soviets and Ost-tier is they can upgrade to minesweepers, and that actually gives them faster repair speed on their engineers. So we're going to control group 2 these, and we're going to right-click the T-34. See them getting their combat bonus. Things are good. We're going to push up this squad. While this squad caps, we're going to try to knock out this mortar. We want to move. Dodge the mortar. This MG is setting up, so we're going to molly it.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
Our maxim's here, so because of this map, we're going to put it here. And we should have our side, so now we can just babysit mid. That's a command tank. So we're going to retreat, since even if we throw an AT nade, we're not going to snare it because it's not damaged, because it's a medium tank. So there's no point. Wow, that hurt. So we're going to bring in our T-34 to take it out, since it's short-barreled. We're going to switch again to vehicle prio, either H or left click. We're going to connect. We're on its rear, which is very good. Nice bounce.
Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
And you want to move as little as possible when shooting, because if you move and shoot with your tanks, you run the risk of missing more often. Okay, we got a Luke's back here. We're gonna snare it. Then we're gonna bring in our T-34 to hunt it down. Gonna bring in our conscripts here. Now, an important thing with if you do end up getting a T-34, is you want to face the hull towards enemy infantry, as its hull-mounted machine gun does an incredible amount of damage to compensate for the fact that it doesn't have access to a pintle-mounted. We're gonna try to finish it off. Okay, we gotta back off. That Puma's kind of dangerous. You can see vehicle bathing be obnoxious. SF Panzer IV. So we're gonna look to get an Su-85. And then after I show you the Su-85, then we'll just switch to demonstrating everything else left in the roster. Then we will have part 2. Again, you could rotate these AT guns over here, but you also run the risk of them getting caught out, which is why I'm just leaving them there. Again, if the infantry enemy was spotting them, I would then have to reposition them. Okay, the AT guns, the enemy Panzer IV is distracted and wounded, so now would be a good time to attack it. And then we're going to look to try to get on its rear armor. We're going to want to try to face our frontal towards it, so we have a chance at bouncing. That's only important against Panzer IVs. Literally anything else, you don't have to bother facing your frontal armor. Okay, well now it's decrewed, so we can bring in our engineers and try to repair it. If you're playing USF, don't recrew stuff. Ping an ally to do it, or if you are going to recrew something, only recrew with rear echelons, or maybe your major. Okay, we're engaging some Panzer guns. We're going to want to get into cover. Okay, so the Su-85 has 60 range, making it have really long range, and it has really good pen, but it's pretty slow, meaning it's pretty vulnerable. But as you can see, it can shoot a good distance away. And then another important thing that I can do is, oh, I didn't dodge that nade, is that you can activate long sight, which provides you enough vision to spot for yourself with your long range. So it's very helpful to put with your AT gun line. Right, let's finish off this Panzer IV. As you can see, it rotates slowly though while activated. But that doesn't matter in this context. Wow. Kinda does matter, so. If you're ever trying to reposition it, just turn it off. Anyways, that's enough of game 1. I guess in part 2, I forgot to put on cheat commands. I will demonstrate everything else in the Soviet monster.